Hey everybody, it's Darcy from the Purposeful Pantry again. Forgive all the dirty dishes down back behind me. I'm just going to do a really quick video on how I make my ground hamburger meat when I boil it. In the video that I just did on the last grocery haul, I bought three tubs of ground chuck. That instead of just doing hamburgers or anything like that, I will actually boil them up, get them ready, and make taco meat to do in larger packages for the freezer, so that I've got a meal already prepped and ready to go to help with my meal planning and make dinners a little easier. So I'm about to walk through the process with you just to show you what I do. I appreciate it. Hang out with me and cook along. Thanks. All right, so this is just a really quick video before I put this meat up of how I'm walking through all of this. What I use is a sheet pan, a spoon, a slotted spoon if you have it. I don't have one right now, so I'm using this spoon. This is called a spider. It actually is used a lot in Asian cooking, but I use it a ton at home to help take noodles and other things that I'm boiling out and save that water if I'm doing more than one batch at a time, or just not having to carry this big huge pot when it's really hot over to the sink to empty it. I can take everything out that I need right then, let this cool down, and deal with it. Also, what I have right here is a pot of boiling water. I'll go ahead and take the lid off because it doesn't need to boil that hard any longer. Yikes. Don't want to put that on the counter. Let me turn this down. It just needs to be a good boil, but not a hard boil. Now what I'm going to do is, in my pot, I'm going to add hamburger meat. Let it boil. I can break it up to be even finer than what it currently is right now. This is just one of the chubs taken out to make it easier for me to plop into the pot for you to see. But I'll take this, I'll put it inside the pot, I'll let it boil for a while, break it down if it's still too coarse, and get these started. And then I'll show you as I pull them out what I do with them as I go through the process of making taco meat. Alright, normally I would wear gloves. Today I'm in a hurry and I don't want to go pull them out of the linen closet. I'm just going to breeze through this really quickly for you. What I do is take this meat, and as it goes in, I'll break it up some. Just because I don't want big chunks of it in the water. I want it to boil really well all by itself. I'll break up anything bigger inside with my spoon. You can see some of it's already floating on the top because this does go really quickly. And the benefit of this, the reason why I do it, is that it helps remove the fat out of the beef, so that the beef is not so fatty at the end. And what I'll do is let this pot cool off. If I have room in the refrigerator, I'll throw it in there, but I'm not going to have room right now because I just did a grocery run. To let it cool down and get the fat solids to come to the top, I can just pull them right off, and then I can dispose of the water much easier than trying to drain this into my sink and letting that fat get into my sewer system, which causes clogs, and I don't want that. That's not good. Nobody wants any kind of that. Nobody's got time for that. So here I go. This probably takes less than, how long has it been since I've done it? Probably less than 10 minutes even, just to boil through this whole pot of beef. You'll know because it looks just like the beef that you have in a skillet. It may not be quite as brown. It's a little, I don't want to say grayer because that gives you a connotation of just gross meat, but it just doesn't get that browning effect. But you'll get that when you put it in your skillet later to do your seasonings to make your actual taco meat. You don't have to make taco meat with this. This can be a way for you to use your ground beef for any casseroles that you do, and this is just your base. You go ahead and get it cooked. Get most of the fat removed, so you've removed a lot of that fat that you don't necessarily want in your diet. The good fats that I like to get are not from beef like this. It's just not the kind of fat that I want. So I'll just go ahead and do all this up. I'll separate it out for different meals if I want to have some for casseroles. Like in the winter, we do a lot more of those kind of casseroles. And as I make the casserole, then I can put this meat in with my liquid mixture and let it simmer for a while before I add everything else in to bake. And that way the meat can draw in some of those flavors. This is just not to get flavor in it, but just to get it cooked to be a tool for whatever I use it for next. So we're going to let this go. I'm going to stir it up in a minute and break it up. I can't do it both with one hand. Well, maybe I can. I don't know. We'll see. Be a dirty spoon, but I can do it. There we go. Didn't think I could do it twice. So as this cooks, you can already see that bunch of it. See how fast it's been cooking down? It really doesn't take that long. And you can see all across the top up here where you see the fat starting to form along the surface. This is what we're trying to get rid of. Now, a lot of people might do their beef, might brown it and then rinse it under hot water into your sink, and that's a way to get the fat out of their beef. But again, that's really bad for your system. That's what causes clogs. While it's hot, when it goes down, as it goes into a drain, it goes through a P-trap, then comes up and then goes into your system. The problem is that that beef, while it may be hot rinsing the fat, the fat goes into your P-trap, back up through and out your system, which then has to travel down a way and then through your sewer system. The problem becomes is that the minute that fat hits those pipes, it's no longer hot. It starts cooling off really fast, which means it gets solid and it starts creating blockages, kind of like your heart arteries. But it starts creating layers of that fat forming along the edges of your pipes. So while this particular day, that may not cause a problem for you, but what happens is you create a buildup. And as that buildup catches on things that are already built up in the sewer system, in your pipes going out, the more it starts to add on to it and clog it up. Soon what happens is that you'll start getting slow drainage. You'll start smelling like weird stuff coming out of your sink. And while that trap, that P-trap, the J-trap or whatever you want to call it, is supposed to help you stop from getting sewer gases backing up into your sink still can start smelling funky because even along that trap it starts building up, which means you have to pour a bunch of chemicals down your sink to clear it out once you get clogged up, or worse, if it's really, really bad, you might have to call a plumber out to get a little further down into your pipes to get it clean, and nobody wants that. It's not good for the sewer system, it's not good for your plumbing, and it's not good on your pocketbook. So this is a good way to get rid of that fat early on. All right, about 5 minutes later, we are all done. And while I waited for that to happen, I loaded up my dehydrator with turnip greens that I got today at clearance at Kroger, and I'm getting them ready to dehydrate to make my green powder, which I'll link down below so you can see how I do it and what I do with it. All right, so what I'll do at this point, something I didn't say is that I will often use some paper towels to line this, not because I'm trying to catch any fat, but just to absorb whatever liquid's coming off of this, especially if this goes right into storage and I don't do anything with it later, which today is probably going to be what I do with the bulk of this, just to have it ready for something. It's already cooked. But so this is what I use this for. You do not need to use this. You can put a baking grate on top so it can just drain through, but for today I just did this to make it go a little quicker for me. All right, so what I'm going to do now is pull out the meat. I take with my spider and shake it off really well. So most of that liquid is going to fall into the pan and not onto our cookie sheet. We're going to line this to help. And you can see there's a much finer texture with this than if you had just browned it in your skillet. It breaks apart really easily. And especially when you start cooking it later, it will break apart even more. It almost looks like, I don't want to say mincemeat because that's actually British for just ground beef, but it just has a finer texture to it. I guess that's a good way to say it. So here we go. Most of that goes in, and then if I have to, I can just break up any of the larger chunks that I didn't get with the spoon. This also will help it cool faster, so as I process through, this will cool off while the next batch cooks. As this next batch is cooking, I just wanted to go through and tell you about the importance of breaking out any of these big chunks. This meat's still cooking, it's not quite done yet. It still has that like pinkish tint to it. The video is showing it to be a little more pink than it actually is in real life. But when you have a big chunk, you want to make sure they're broken up, because you might find that while the outside looks like it's cooked, on the inside you might get, I'm trying to see if there's actually one in here. I've been working at breaking this last batch up. You might find that as you break it up, the inside is not quite cooked, although the rest of it has that texture of being done. But I'm not seeing any right now. Let this cook for a couple more minutes and we'll move on to the last batch. Okay, I've gotten about 9 pounds of beef all done. It's here cooling off until I start processing it, which for today is probably just going to be into individual containers for meals. I'm not going to go ahead and make taco meat, but at this point, that's what you do with it. You would put it in your skillet, put in your taco seasoning, and create tacos just like you normally would. Use it for some kind of other casserole that you're doing. But this is all of it right here. And that's how easy it is. Even when I still have some chunks that I didn't get all the way ground up, when you break them, they break up much easier than ground beef would. See? So the texture is really fine. But something I wanted to show you, this is why I do it. For that 9, almost 10 pounds of meat, you can see how much, you can see how much fat is going to come from that. The solids that are sitting a good 1/2 inch under the surface of the liquid in this pan. So as this cools off, this big layer at the top is going to start getting solid, and I can scoop it out and get rid of it in the trash as opposed to trying to dump it down my drain. By the time it's done, the water will be fairly safe to go ahead and dump down the drain, and the rest of this will just go into a container into the trash so it doesn't draw animals in our trash bag can. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, if you'd like to see more cooking videos and how I do things for my family. Please like and subscribe below, and visit the Purposeful Pantry anytime that you'd like. Ask any questions that you have about the process and I'll answer as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.